Hello and welcome to this special episode of Game Chat with Ben and Matt. We're here to talk about my opinion, best game of 2013. A lot of other people's opinions, best game of 2013. This beauty right here, The Last of Us.
That's right. This is full of spoilers.
No holds barred.
No holds barred. Is that easy?
Nothing held back. We'll just go with that.
Great start for this. But yeah, so if you have not played this,
Turn this off.
Yeah, turn it off now.
First of all, reconsider your life and how you have not played this game.
Well, it is understandable if you don't have a PlayStation 3.
Still,
Like me, I had to borrow
excuse.
yours.
You still played it, so it's
That's
okay.
true.
But
Yes.
first, take a gander and reconsider your life, and then go play this wonderful game, and then come back. You know where to find us. Put this in your watch later tab.
That's right. So, what do you want to start with? Should we start at the beginning and just work our way through it?
Yeah, the beginning was a shocker.
Yeah, it was one of the most emotional.
Oh, just right off the
Start
bat,
from the
they punched you right in the gut
I
right off the
cried.
bat. When you just see Joel and he's running, he drops Sarah as he's the military officer shooting at him. And he drops Sarah, he falls down the hill, and then you see Sarah with her. I think that's her name's Sarah, right?
Yeah.
You see the bullet hole in her.
Yeah, there's
blood everywhere.
And there's that one scene where where Joel's running with Sarah in his arms, and as he's running, you hear something behind you, and I turned to look.
Oh, you can't turn around. That's what I heard. You can't turn around.
I turned to look, and there was I don't think it was a clicker at this point because it was way too early.
Well, yeah, it's too
but
early.
It was one of the infected, and he got me immediately. And the thing is it's not just like once they get you, it's not just like it's over. Like it actually plays out like him dying, which is
Well, that was
ridiculous.
terrifying at the end too. Sorry to skip, but like when you're running out of the hospital, you've got Ellie in your arms, and you're running towards the door, and you bump into somebody. They violently rip Ellie out of your hands, kick you over, and shoot you in the face, and you just explode. There's blood everywhere.
And the way they do it is it makes you really think that Joel just
like
died.
I was genuinely concerned. I was
That had to be a
like,
lot
oh
of
crap,
things,
what is
yeah.
happening? And then, but no. Luckily, it didn't end that way. That would have been terrible. I mean, the ending still was interesting, but
And the thing I loved about the way it started was that it wasn't like every other zombie movie or things like that, where it's just like here's a cut of news clips and here's what's happening.
Well, there was the news. The news story came on. There was like news of an
did you catch that part
explosion.
where like there's like a newscaster and they're talking and there's an explosion and then
you see the explosion out the window.
Out the window.
And then there was another thing in the bathroom, I believe it was in the bathroom. There was the newspaper on the sink, and it said infection spreading or something to that degree. And I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, there's all sorts of, and I do like that it shows you the beginning because a lot of these things either A, put you in the middle of it, or
Just
B,
drops you in.
just as a montage where it's like, oh, here's how it outburst, and then bam, you're in the game. And I do like that it showed that he had, like, it skipped forward like 20 years.
And I was glad that it didn't drop him in. He's 20 years later. Oh, I'm still sad about my daughter. He realizes that. I mean, that's what shaped him. He's part of who he is. But he's not just sitting around moping around his daughter. He's moved on. He's looking for work. He's on the phone looking for work when he starts up the.
And the attention to detail in all of these things, like you look on the walls, the graffiti, just to read that, and you look on like. There's all sorts of things. Like you find things on the ground. You see people getting executed.
Oh, yeah, this was one of the few games I went and looked for everything.
Yeah, because the attention to detail was so there, and it pieces the story together, that it makes it that much better. So like every time there was an audio cue where
you see the triangle.
Yeah, you see the triangle. You could talk to Ellie. I was always looking for those because the chemistry between Joel and Ellie was such an interesting. It was such an interesting relationship, but it worked because for the first
they hated each other.
For the first 2/3 of the game, like the better part of the game, they did not like each other, which was a surprise to me because seeing trailers, it was always Joel protecting Ellie, and then it throws you in where it's like Joel, he does not want to protect Ellie at all.
Well, yeah, and then
he
it
finds out she's
flips.
infected. Yeah, because then it's Ellie
protecting Joel because this relationship has grown into a father-daughter type relationship as they've.
And there was that one scene. One of my favorite scenes in the entire game was when Ellie had done something that reminded Joel of his daughter, and he just looks at his watch at his daughter.
Yeah, he's got his arms crossed, and he looks down at his watch because that's what he has left. And I don't know. I remember Ellie said something. He's like, "Your watch is broken," like as a snide remark.
Yeah.
And I don't know. She at that point didn't realize the significance of the watch and why he still wore it even though it was broken.
Yeah, and there was another. Yeah, I don't know what's going there. I was gonna say. Sorry. Anyway, so now we're moving on to one thing I want to talk about really quick with gameplay, which I know we're kind of jumping all over.
Yeah, go for it.
That's kind of how these things go. With gameplay, I love the fact that when you're crafting things, there's two different things that I love about crafting. Number one, it doesn't pause the game for you. When you're crafting, you gotta make sure you're in a safe spot.
Yeah, you gotta be behind something.
You gotta be cautious.
There's clickers coming. You gotta quickly make a shiv so you can protect yourself.
And I also love the fact that it's, these two items make, a medical kit or a Molotov cocktail.
So you choose.
You have to choose. What's going to help you the most? I always made medical kits because I never used those. I didn't use the Molotov cocktails.
Oh, like...
But then once I did start, there was a lot of things that I didn't use, but once I did start using it, it was like, oh my god, why haven't I been using
that was like with the bow when you were Ellie and you were trapped in the thing and you had to get past all those people and you were just this little teenage girl. You got a bow and some bullets. I used the bow because they don't hear you when and they just drop and they're like, "Hey, what happened to my friend?"
Yeah.
Guys!
And that part where you are playing as Ellie, I thought Joel was dead.
Oh, yeah.
Which I thought that would have been a cool step, but I also was like, no.
Oh, yeah. Games and movies don't do that. They don't kill the main character in the first game, because there's obviously going to be sequels.
Yeah, and it's not that, not that I wanted Joel to die, but I do think that would have shown, Naughty Dog took that step.
Naughty Dog took a bunch of steps, especially with the ending. I bet that ending did not test well. People are like, but they're like, no.
Yeah, the ending actually didn't hit me at first until...
It didn't hit me until the second time.
I was waiting... There's that very last scene after Joel busts in through the hospital and saves Ellie and decides he's gonna, save Ellie rather than the entire world, which is very selfish of him and it kind of turns him into the villain. But at the same time, you sympathize with him. But there was that one scene where she was like, "Are you sure?" She was like, "Are you lying to me?" And he was like, "No, that's the truth."
When he looks her in the eyes and says, "Are you telling me the truth?" He says, "I swear."
Yeah, and to me, at first I was like, "Oh, well, that's sort of that's kind of an anti." Because I'm a sucker for really heartfelt, oh, we're hugging it out. And I don't know why I love that so much, but I also realized that wouldn't have fit in this.
No, it wouldn't.
It would never fit in this world.
Because the game was so dark and
and Ellie grew up as she had a very interesting, the way she grew up was just so hard, and she never got to experience any of those connections.
Well, the first time she sees the monkeys for the first time, it's just Joel asks, the first time, and another big scene was when you walk out and Ellie's running down the hallway. She's yelling, "Come on, Joel! Come on!" And you walk out and you see this giant expanse of grass and you see these giraffes.
Yeah,
it was so.
Yeah, it was
so awesome.
When I first played that scene, I was like, "Oh no, where's she going?" Because she wasn't like, Joel, come on. She was like she just took off, and he was like, Ellie. She was like, Joel, come on.
Well, because she just left him there. He still had to get up there.
Yeah, so me, I was like, oh god, she's going after something. I'm screwed. Because I was terrified throughout the entire game. The entire game, I was just utterly terrified. Because me, I get terrified. I can't play Bioshock 1 and 2 by myself. That's how scared I am of game. I know it's a dumb thing.
It's you probably tried to play Slender or something.
Yeah, but it's just those games where you don't know what's going to be around the corner, and I know that's the whole intrigue of these games, but me, I also don't like horror movies, so...
Depends.
Yeah, there's certain ones that I like, but it's one of those things where I was just... This was one of the games that utterly terrified me, but I could still... that scene, there was that part where you're in the hotel... that all the power had gone out, you know what I'm talking about? And you're in the basement of the hotel or whatever.
Oh yeah, and you had to go downstairs.
That was the scariest.
Because you had to go downstairs and you had to pull the generator so you could swipe the key card. And it varies by difficulty what kind of infected show. Because I played through it on easy the first time because I'm a sucker and
I played through it on easy because I played through it.
Yeah, and then I played through it on normal again, and on easy it's just normal affected.
Yeah.
But on normal, a bloater comes.
Oh man.
The swooping around the corner, and you gotta stay on your toes with them bloaters. Those things were annoying, especially when you're at the college and you have to leave Ellie and you go into that hallway, those dorm rooms full of spores, and it's just dark.
Yeah.
There's all this infected, so you take out all the infected, and there's a bloater at the end of the hallway. And that was horrible.
Yeah.
Because the first time I tried to do it, I just ran out with a flamethrower and lighting him on fire, and then he just rips my skull open.
Yeah. One of the things about the bloaters is I am glad that, like, because when I saw the bloater, I was like, oh no. Like, this is... Because, like, Left 4 Dead, what they had, and it worked for Left 4 Dead, was they had, like, the witch, the bloater, the thing that, like, can grab you from far away.
The jockey, I think?
Yeah. All these different, like, creatures was worked for that, but I was like, please don't bring that into this story.
Oh, yeah. It was really nice that they only had, like, the bloaters, the clickers, and then the main infected. And
I do love the clickers, because the clickers were terrifying because of how hard they were to kill, and how just aesthetically they were terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
But...
Because the spores growing in there, and forceps.
I also love the fact that because they were blind, it gave an entirely new, like a spectrum of
Because you could either sneak around them, or you could shove them in the neck, or...
Yeah, because, like...
Be an idiot and shoot him in the face.
There's certain games where there's, like, a really hard, like, enemy you have to beat or something, and... Like, every time you see it, you're like, oh, this guy again.
God.
But I never felt that with the clickers, because the clickers was like, this is terrifying, but I can sneak around, like that tunnel. When you go into that tunnel of death.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like,
there were, like,
30 clickers.
4 bloaters in that tunnel.
It was ridiculous. And I remember, like, because with the clickers, it was really hard to, like, gauge, like, can I get that? How close can I get to a clicker?
It was really nice to have the listening mode, because you could stand behind, like, a bus or something in that tunnel, especially. You could hold down listening mode, you could see the you could wait, and then wait for him to turn around and then come up behind him and shiv him in the neck.
And then... we've already exploded this by jumping around.
Yeah.
You know how, like, you could upgrade Joel specifically? You can upgrade his health and stuff?
Yeah.
Like, what did you upgrade?
I tried to upgrade his... I upgraded his health all the way, and I upgraded the listening mode distance. Yeah. And then I think I upgraded the med kit potency, and then I also upgraded, like, crafting speed.
Yeah.
But I did upgrade everything.
I didn't either. It would have been very hard to.
Oh, you can't, because, like, that's why they put in the easy mode plus or normal mode plus, because it keeps your stats. Oh, okay. So you don't keep the weapons, so you still... Yeah.
I remember I had completely upgraded, like, Joel and all of his weapons and stuff, and then it was, like, Ellie, and I was like, oh no. Like, number one, Joel's dead. Oh, well, I thought. And number two...
He's not dead.
Yeah, and number two, I was like, where did all of my weapons go? Because I had just spent all that time...
Although it was nice with Ellie, because the rifle was a one-shot kill.
Yeah.
And there were all those
clickers, what I noticed.
So if it wasn't a one-shot kill, that would be terrible. Although it was a different rifle. It had it was multiple in the chamber rather than the...
rather than the bolt-action. Because one of the things with that bolt-action rifle that Joel was using, because I remember, like, using it, I was like, oh, that's not that great. And then using it with Ellie, and I was like, this is awesome. And I didn't realize that there was a different rifle. Yeah. So when I went back to Joel, I was like, this is all
I'm that's what I was...
And I, like, upgraded it and stuff, and then I was like, oh, different rifle.
Frick.
Yeah. And then the scene with David, who was the guy who found her when she was, like, hunting for a deer right after you think Joel is dead. And he starts off as this, like, nice guy, but you don't trust him.
Oh yeah, you can't trust anybody.
That's the thing this game like really pushes. Like, you cannot trust anyone. And usually, like me, I'm like, anytime there's like a TV show or a movie, I'm the most trustworthy guy. They always like, I am the audience member that movie makers and game makers love, because I fall for every trick. I'm like, what? When everyone else is like, I saw that coming from a mile away. But
well, it's like BioShock Infinite. Sorry to say another game, but when the twist comes, you know there's a twist coming, and we'll eventually hits you.
Yeah, we'll eventually have an episode of BioShock Infinite. I still have to play it, so that's what's holding us back right now. But yeah, I'm just like a sucker for any sort of twist. But David was one that, like, there was something unsettling about him.
Nolan North did a really good job with David.
But he was like, it was weird because he was so nice that it was like, nope. No, you can't be nice in this world. Why is he nice? And that scene, like, the entire scene where you're playing as Ellie and all you have, like, she was like, oh, I gotta get a gun. You know, I had a knife that entire time. I didn't pick up a gun at the entire time. Yeah, like her switchblade. I didn't pick up a gun the entire time because like me, I was just sneaking around people. I think I killed maybe one guy.
I killed all of them because it was a one-shot kill, so I was just like, why not? I may as well off these clickers.
Oh yeah. Well, I was talking about the part where. Sorry, I should have been more descriptive. The blizzard, how there's like a blizzard, you know?
Oh yeah,
And she
okay.
escapes. Yeah, sorry, I should have been a lot more descriptive.
There, yeah. I thought you were talking about like, because in the you're fighting alongside this guy while you think you can still trust him.
Yeah.
You're fighting alongside this guy, and then he's like, so. We had a bunch of our men killed by a man, and he was traveling with a little girl, and he looks at her, and she's like, "Oh crap!"
Yeah.
And he grabs her and puts her in the cage, and then
breaks
his hand.
And then there's the whole like there's that whole like
stabs
notion.
the kid.
Yeah. There's like the whole like it sort of implies that they're all cannibals. You know, because at first
because they're hocking up their body.
And like at first I was like, are they cannibals? And then like later you find like you see a whole like hanging dead bodies.
Oh yeah, when you walk in
cannibals.
with Joel and you bust through the door and you turn on the flashlight and you just see the carcasses hanging from the ceiling. That was
that was terrifying. But in that blizzard scene, I didn't kill anyone because she was like, "You gotta find a gun." And I was like, "I can't find a gun anywhere."
The only way you could find a gun was to kill somebody.
Yeah, and
you couldn't.
And people were always in pairs, it seemed. So, which was the smart thing. Like, the AI in this game was incredible. Like, how smart they were. And
the only problem I had with the AI was when you were Joel and you would sneak behind something, and Ellie would run out and she'd be like, "Oh, that was close."
She'd just be like clunking around.
She'd be clunking around, she'd yell, "Oh, that was close," and they wouldn't notice anything. You take one step and they're like, and they're all running towards you. Like, that kind of was inconsistent, but it didn't really ruin the game at all. And it was still a masterpiece. Great game.
And
fantastic.
Oh yeah. And then, like, one of the scariest scenes for me, and there was a lot of scary scenes. To me, it was a very scary game, you know. You're probably saying, like, oh, it's an awesome action game. But me, I'm like, I'm terrified.
Oh, no, of course there was.
It's a horror game.
Yeah.
But was the scene where you're in, like, that lodge, or it's like a diner, and you're playing as Ellie, and David is chasing you.
Oh, yeah, and you gotta throw the bottles and stuff at him. You gotta run up and stab him a couple times.
The bottles and the bricks.
And the building's on fire, and when you come out with when you come out with Joel and he sees the building on fire and he's like, "Oh crap, I bet Ellie's in there."
Yeah.
And he runs in there and he sees that's after, and he's like on top of Ellie, and Ellie turns around and starts just going at him with that knife. But I don't know, did you?
And I love that scene where it pans up and you just see like the knife. Like they don't show that, it's just the knife with like the bloody knife. I thought that's beautiful.
When you saw David, were you getting when Joel comes up and he grabs Ellie and he's like, he tried to what was your word that you put in after that?
Unfortunately, I was thinking rape.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people were. And I think they did a good job at, like, if that was their intention, at just implying that, not having to say, like, not having to make it just overly, like, graphic or weird. Because a lot of times, like, you'll see in movies where they have, like, there's, like, some rape scene that's 5 minutes long. It's like, you don't need that.
That's insane.
You can imply that, sure, or you can just do, like, a clever camera trick the last 10 seconds. But other than that, you know, because I feel like with subjects as serious as rape, you can't dwell on it too much. Like, sure, you can have, like, the character struggling with it afterwards, but not the act itself. So I think they did a really good job with implying that is what happened.
Yeah, if that was their goal.
And if anyone, David would be who had.
Oh, David was a creepy dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
David was interesting.
Before we talk about any movie or what I want to say, TV show adaptations, any other things about the game really quick?
I mean, it was such a good game. It was so, the story was so great. It kept me going personally. I mean, I always wanted. I was like, I would get to this part and I would, oh god, I gotta keep going.
Yeah.
Because it kept pulling you in, and it was just so emotionally driven. I mean, I had tears running down my eyes, down my face 3 or 4 times in the game. It was
multiple times I was crying. But me, I cry in everything.
Yeah.
You know this. I cry in every movie I go see. I saw Lone Survivor last weekend and I cried like 6 times. But
I get really emotionally invested into these kind of things because it's like I'm there. I am this person in this.
Yeah.
But the thing with it was like with the ending, we haven't really touched on the ending. Like,
that's true. We
like
gotta talk about that.
How it kind of makes Joel look like the villain when you see it. But the first time I played it, I was like, okay, because I didn't look for like audio logs or anything.
Yeah.
And they're talking about like how
they like found the cure. They were like, this is going to work.
When I go look at the audio logs, they're like we've done testing and this can work. This is very likely to work. And when I played through the first time, I was just like, okay, we don't know if this is a cure. We don't know if this is actually going to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's how I felt when
Joel
I played
did
through
the
it,
right
I was
thing.
like, and the whole time I was still like, I still am trying to justify Joel's actions.
Well, yeah, because
they make you invest.
Well, that was kind of like
much.
because they never explicitly say it's guaranteed to work, which kind of gives them a way out.
Yeah, it's like
Joel's get out of jail free card.
Yeah, it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, maybe there's like an 80-90% chance, but there's still that 10% chance that it will work and this girl died for nothing. But then they were talking.
Yeah, because they don't know if it works until they rip her brain out of her head.
Yeah, but then when they were talking about like this will work, and I think that's what those were trying to do was really hammer home that like this.
Because that's
work.
what their ending was. That's what Naughty Dog wanted. They wanted to drive that home.
Yeah, and I liked that they got back to Tommy's, his brothers. Mm-hmm. They were like going back to Tommy's. And
which that'll be important. That'll be good for sequel.
Yeah, any potential sequels. And like there was that one scene where he's driving away. So like Ellie's like caretaker, like former caretaker. You know what I'm talking about? Like, Marlene. That was her name. Thank you. She, like, you see her at the end while Joel's carrying her and he has the gun. Like,
that scene was.
That was a great scene.
That was a good. I mean, that would have been that could have made direct sequels a lot easier if they would have kept Marlene alive.
Yeah.
But when Marlene's like, please let me go, and he's like, no, you'll only come find me.
Yeah.
Come find her, and he shoots her right in the head.
Yeah.
Puts her out of her misery.
Yeah.
And
then you see, but like before you see him shoot her, there's that scene where he's in the truck and he just he looks disappointed and you're just like, oh no.
And he breathes heavy, and then you hear a noise in the back seat. I was like, oh thank you.
That was like the most, like I never felt that much relief. Where it's just like, oh thank God. Except for maybe like beating just a bad game. Where you're like, I gotta get through this. Oh thank God.
Finally beat this piece of garbage.
But
not that we're talking about the last one. Somebody say that.
Not at all. But one of the things, when you were talking about keeping Marlene alive would have been a good thing for the sequels, because I had thought about sequels, and I thought, what you kind of need is an overarching villain for these sequels. But
one thing that I did like about The Last of Us, before you start on that, is there was no big super villain.
Yeah, well, that's what I was about to say with the sequel, because you don't need a villain with the series, because you already have infected, clickers, bloaters, and the survivors. The world is the villain here.
The world's just gone to hell, and you see that right at the beginning.
Yeah, that's your main antagonist. It's just the entire environment that you're in playing this game.
Yeah.
So they don't need some... Like, I thought David filled that role pretty well as the, sort of
bad
almost
guy.
Main antagonist. Where someone you really hate in the game. But... Because, like, there were parts where you would go... Like, you would separate, like, one of the survivors from this group, and he'd be pointing a gun at you, and he would be begging for his life. He'd be like, please don't kill me. No, and then you just... Of course, I would just blast him in the face.
Yeah.
But...
Well, it's like when you burst in at the end with the doctors, and the one guy comes at you with a scalpel, so you don't have a choice, and the other two are just like, please don't do this.
I shot the doctor before he came at me with the scalpel, actually.
You just barged in there.
Well, I barged in there, like, pointed at him for a second, he had his hands up, and then he was like, please, and then I shot him.
I saw him pull the scalpel, I didn't popped him in the face with a shotgun.
And then there was the two, the nurses. I let them live.
I shot one of them because I was
in the moment.
That was the emotion hit me.
Yeah.
But I wasn't like crying, but I was driven, and I was like, nobody's getting in my way of this girl.
Yeah.
So and then she kind of looked at me, and I was like, nope. I just blew her face off, and then grabbed Ellie and got out of there.
And yeah. So the hospital scene, that was a really tough level too.
Oh yeah,
like going in, I was playing on easy, and that was a really tough level. Like because I had the assault
rifle. I didn't find the game that difficult, but like
there were parts, and the thing I loved about it was it wasn't very it wasn't frustrating either. Like so there's certain games like that are frustratingly difficult.
Oh yeah.
That it's just like pisses you off, and you have to turn it off. Which those are never fun, and it always leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Like Grand Theft Auto 4 when I didn't have checkpoints.
Oh.
That always pissed me off.
That's why I didn't play that game.
Yeah, and then that's like way over
I stopped playing
that I've been playing was Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King
well,
on PlayStation 2. I mentioned it in the podcast prior to this, and that was like there's like 2 checkpoints a level, and if you die, you're screwed because it doesn't have regenerative health like every game does now, which I love.
Oh yeah,
every game has
The
regenerative
Last of Us
health.
didn't either. And
Huh.
I liked that. That you
That
had
fit for
to
that
make
world, yeah.
you had to make your med kits and you had to patch yourself up, and you saw him as he'd wrap himself up with the health. That was also nice in Far Cry 3 when you would, although that was kind of disgusting when he cracked his thumb back.
Yeah, that is. I do like when like Far Cry 3 is like, and games like The Last of Us, or when they actually do the detail where it's like, oh, you got shot in the arm, well, let's get the bullet out of your arm and patch it up, rather than like. Just hold X and he's like holding the med kit. It's like
You're just standing there.
done. We're healed. Like
and then I like games like Uncharted, another Naughty Dog brilliant gem. Where there's no health bar, you just watch your screen. It gets darker and darker, and
then those games. That's like the perfect game where to have the regenerative health, because that's more of like a fun game where you can blast your way through it. And then, oh no, I'm about to die. Let me just die behind here for a second. Okay, now I can get back into the action.
Yeah, I really liked how Naughty Dog differentiated Uncharted and The Last of Us because they're so different, and like especially when you're killing somebody, you see them like they're scraping at you and you hear them making noise, and then Uncharted you just punch them a couple times.
Yeah, shoot them in the face and it's like ah. Like,
it's all happy.
Yeah, then they never really reflect on, which is a good thing I like about Uncharted, how they're never like, how they never take it like, oh, I've killed all these people, it's so sad. You know, like, that's one thing, Gears of War 3, at the end of the game, they sort of like reflect, like, were we right to kill all these locusts, which was a weird, like, flip, because the whole first 2 games were about killing. It's what you do, the locusts are the bad guy. And then, like, the third game, you're going to introduce this weird, like, moral questioning, it just didn't work for that setting. And it wouldn't work for Uncharted either. So, yeah, you'd have to really pick and choose which games that would work for.
I was really glad that there was no like options in The Last of Us, because in like that world there's no moral choice. It's you either survive or you die or survive.
Yeah,
and
like
you
Ellie
have
said
to
in the
live.
trailer, or I think it's Ellie. She was like, you either hang on to your morals and die, or
you die the
survive.
hero, or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
So
Bane right there.
Yeah, we got Bane right there. So, do you want to go ahead and talk about any film adaptations that this could be?
Film adaptations are very possible because it's such an adaptive universe.
Yeah. With video games, there's always a question as to what, like Ubisoft's trying to do it now. I'll be honest, at this point, not seeing anything. I don't have much faith in a Ubisoft movie title like Assassin's Creed.
Oh, and they were always
Even though
talking
they already
about
have
Splinter Cell.
Yeah.
With Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy, which he's a little too
Sam
old
Fisher.
to be Sam Fisher.
He clunking around.
I don't see him as stealth, but with like Assassin's Creed and stuff like that, I don't think like that's just something that'll be so hard to put into a movie, and even if it's not like like Prince of Persia, they made that into a movie and it wasn't all that bad of a movie, but it was still like it takes a lot of time to convert, and it's weird because you already have the story there, you already have the characters. It wouldn't seem like it'd be that hard. But
it's like movies adapting to video games.
Yeah, which I wish they would just make really good.
A good Iron Man game would be great.
Fantastic. Or like a good Avengers game or something.
Batman games,
you know,
they gave us plenty of good Batman games.
Like,
that Arkham trilogy is fantastic. Yeah. But
you know the Lego Marvel game? If they just made that with the actual characters, that would have been awesome. Anyway, back to The Last of Us. Sorry.
Jumped off there.
For like movies and where I think it should go as a TV show.
Like a miniseries.
Yeah. Well, then the reason I say a miniseries, like just a miniseries, I'm not saying like, oh, this is gonna be like The Walking Dead, where the comic book is one thing, the TV show's another thing. No, I think, sure, you can have other things in this universe. I think that'd be a very interesting take. Like, like the way they're doing DLC, where it's like, here's Ellie and her friend. You could add in other characters. Like, here's another character who was in,
Riley,
Utah.
And it's really cool because they did the comic series. There were four comic books for The Last of Us that came out prior to the game, the prequel comics, and Those
Injustice
follow
did that
that.
as well.
Those follow the story of Riley and Ellie, and that's really cool that they've kind of made.
Yeah,
that
I remember
the DLC.
finding that Firefly tag, or no, going through Ellie's bag. That was the Firefly tag of Riley.
Did you go in? You went into the bag.
Yeah,
You saw the note from Ellie's mother.
Yeah, and when you flip it over, it's like never give up or something.
Yeah, do us.
And then Ellie's like, I'm trying, Mom, which is really cool.
Yeah, that was really.
That. But yeah, that was like the first thing I did when I was playing against Ellie. I was like, oh, she's got a bag. What does she have in here? And like the personal items. And which a lot of people are like, well, I never thought about that. I don't know why. Like that's the one thing that struck me, but I did go through and.
Yeah, I did that on the. I noticed that on the second time through. I opened up the backpack when I was crafting something. I scrolled over to the collectibles and I was there. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. Okay. Movie, TV. We keep getting off on a tangent. So I think it would work best as a miniseries, not a movie, because you can't fit that story into a 2.5 hour,
No, you
3
can't.
hour at most movie that would be enjoyable. Because I don't want to sit there for, like, in a theater. No,
they skipped
I
around
love
a lot.
Wolf of Wall Street.
And-
But yeah, I think it would work the best as a, like, 12 or 15 part miniseries where there's, you know. And you can even have this miniseries in episodes like the way they do Sherlock, which is they don't have to do it every year. So, if there was a sequel to The Last of Us, they could make a sequel miniseries following that. But because you could start off like in episodes with like the first episode would be all like the whole beginning, that was like the outbreak, and then Joel going with Tess to get their guns back. That's like the first thing when he first meets them.
Yeah, when they're
When
getting
they-
ready from the Fireflies.
I
Yeah.
keep forgetting her caretaker's name. Ellie's caretaker.
Marlene.
Marlene. Like that first,
Oh, yeah,
the
when
first
she's hurt,
episode,
yeah.
the first episode would end when they meet Marlene. And then the second episode would take place, you first meet Ellie now, and because now it's like, you meet Ellie, and then like that episode would end when like they find out that Ellie's infected.
Yeah,
So people who
that
haven't
was a
played the
bomb.
game,
That
you
was
know.
big. That
Yeah.
was big. Yeah.
And if you haven't played the game, bam, that's your cliffhanger. And like, don't even do the whole like, she's infected. She's like, no, I was infected like 2 weeks ago. Just be like, she's infected. Boom, like cliffhanger.
Yeah, because that was cool how they did that when they were like that's she's not. There's no way, and then you stop it right there, and then that's your.
Yeah, that's your cliffhanger going into episode
If you
3,
were
and
to
then
adapt it,
you
yeah.
can and then you can go on like that because it's pretty much set up in episodes. You know, each level.
Well,
is an
because it
episode.
skips. Yeah, it skips. It's like one part you're here, you're at the college, and then you're back at the. You go to the hospital,
Yeah.
and then you're back at the.
One whole episode would be
Damn.
like you think Joel's dead. One whole episode could be
Well,
like
that was
just
terrifying.
Ellie.
That feeling when you saw Ellie walk down the hill,
Mhm.
and there was no Joel. You didn't know what happened
Mhm.
to Joel. I was scared.
But yeah, I think a miniseries would be the way to go, and I think it would work the best if you put it in. Because at first I was thinking, you could make it on like HBO is my first choice because they do Game of Thrones.
Yeah, they do all kinds of
They
stuff.
they've
Game of
done Band
Thrones
of
is
Brothers, which is one of the best miniseries of all time.
Yeah.
And so they could clearly get the budget for it and find the right actors. So that would be one choice. But another thing I think would really work is if like Netflix picked it up, and Netflix poured
I
a whole
hope
bunch of money.
Netflix does something with Jericho.
Yeah, they've been in talks about it.
Turtles
Sort of like a revival. But I think if like Netflix or some sort of like binging type medium where you could like because Lost, a lot of people, or like Breaking Bad or anything like that,
Yeah, anything.
a lot of people are like, oh well, you have to get week to week to get like the full impact of the cliffhangers. But no, you don't.
You just keep
Because
watching.
yeah, because then once the cliffhanger goes, and now you're like, okay, well
You're like,
I
I
gotta
gotta watch the next episode.
yeah, and I don't have to wait a week. Here, I can just
Thank
press
God.
play. Yeah, so you can just press play, and then, which is one of the things I love about The Walking Dead binging, because watching like the TV series, when you watch an episode of The Walking Dead, the first 10 minutes, packed with action. The last 10 minutes, packed with action and a cliffhanger. And then the next first 10 minutes of the next one, packed with action summing up that cliffhanger. So there's like 20 minutes of action each episode, and then the rest is just like talking or negotiating or something like that.
I love The Walking Dead. I
It's a great
watched
show,
that
don't get me
show
wrong. I
when it
actually
comes out.
I'm sorry I stopped watching it because I'm waiting for it to
The
go on
mid-season
Netflix.
finale was insane.
Well,
You
the way-
should be
the
very
way-
disappointed in yourself to miss
No.
that.
See, the way I want to watch things is I want to be able to, because there's so many things right now where I don't have the time just to be like, oh, it's
Sit
Sunday
down and watch
night or whatever at 9 o'clock. I got to sit down and watch this so I can be, because there's certain episodes where it's like, well, that wasn't what I was hoping to get from this week. Because there's certain episodes that dip and.
Oh yeah, there has to be. You can't just have
Which is-
everything packed.
So like season 2 of The Walking Dead, a lot of people didn't like, this is still sort of The Last of Us because it's zombies. So if you're saying, why are you getting off on this tangent? But,
we'll get back.
but if you listen to our podcast, that's all this is. But season 2 of The Walking Dead, the way a lot of people said, like, oh, it was just too much talking and stuff. I never got that because I didn't watch it on a week-to-week basis. I bought the season and watched the whole thing back to back. I marathoned the whole thing in like a weekend. So to me, that season was filled with action, and there was get those character development things because they filmed them all at once. So you don't forget about, oh, that's right, he gave him that weird look in the last episode, and now that's where this is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you have that week interval, you can miss a lot of those things. And don't get me wrong, I would love to watch them as they come out because spoilers are ridiculous on like Twitter and some social network. But yeah, so miniseries I think is the way to go for The Last of Us. Naughty Dog. I know, you guys are listening, Naughty Dog.
You know what you're doing. We have faith in you.
Yeah.
We haven't done a bad game yet, so.
So, but we've never seen them make a movie, and they've been asking all sorts of people to make
because the only problem with the Uncharted movie is it's basically Indiana Jones.
But see, to me, I think now would be the perfect time to make a new Indiana Jones because of what it's become. The fourth one was a disaster.
For crying out loud.
The fourth one was a disaster, and they're wanting to make a fifth one. So why not? Okay.
Well, good thing Shia LaBeouf retired from all personal life.
Yeah, or public
life. Yeah.
But I think now is the perfect time to get an Uncharted movie out there because of the fact that people want that classic Indiana Jones like they had, and I think this I think this is what would give him that again. And Seth Rogen was approached to direct.
The only problem I see with the Uncharted movie is Nolan North is Nathan Drake, and having a voice other than Nolan North as Nathan Drake wouldn't make sense after 4 Uncharted games and already going into a 5th one on PS4, which that's what I'm excited for.
Well, one of my things about the casting of Nathan Drake, if they made a movie, would be because a lot of people say Nathan Fillion from Firefly and Dr. Horrible Sing Along blog. To me, I'm sorry, but he's too old now.
Yeah.
Nathan Fillion
really
10 years ago.
Castle. He's really good in Castle.
But now he's like a little too old to play Nathan Drake. Nathan Drake needs to be a young, fit guy. Not saying Nathan Fillion's not fit, but
nothing against Nathan Fillion.
I saw some people were saying Zach Levi, who played Chuck. I think that'd be a cool choice because he could get that charisma across. But I think what you ultimately need for a Nathan Drake character is someone who is unknown. Someone who you don't associate, like, oh, that's Zach Levi. No, you need to look at that guy and say, oh, that's Nathan Drake. You know, because there's certain people, a lot of people look at Hugh Jackman and go, oh, that's Wolverine.
Harrison Ford.
People look at
that's Indiana Jones.
Yeah, exactly.
Robert Downey Jr. That's Iron Man. That's Sherlock Holmes.
And so you need someone who's not, oh, there's Robert Downey Jr. or oh, there's Batman casting as Ben Affleck. I love Ben Affleck. I'm excited for Ben Affleck as Batman. And I think one of the best parts about him being Batman is that he can be there to help Zack Snyder with the directorial process. And I think once they do Batman Superman, then I think Ben Affleck will take the helm for directing a Justice League movie.
Because they're gonna make a Flash movie.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Which I think that was another one that I thought Zach Levi would be great for. Because Flash because Flash or Hal Jordan or something. Even though Ryan Reynolds is Hal Jordan, but Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool, right? I know Green Lantern movie sucked, and I know X-Men Origins, which I actually liked, but whatever.
X-Men Origins was good. I liked X-Men. And Green Lantern.
Everyone hated it. I really did like X-Men.
Green Lantern was horrible.
Yeah, it was bad. But yeah, I thought Ryan Reynolds was the perfect Wade Wilson. So why not make him full clad in the outfit? And he's actually attached to do it. So hopefully they'll get out of development hell.
We'll find out.
Man, this has gone way away from The Last of Us.
To finish this one up, Last of Us. One word. Sum it up.
Masterpiece. Fantastic.
Amazing. Yeah. What would you score? 10? I'd give it a 10. If it was possible to give it a 10.5 or an 11, I would. But that's not on our scale. Like a 10
I would give it a 10, but not what. See, you're saying I would give it a 10 at the highest level. I would give it. It's getting in at a 10 because there are minor little details.
Well, there won't be a perfect game.
And that's the thing. I know there's no such thing as a perfect game, and I'm still giving it a 10. So.
Yeah, Uncharted 2 is not perfect. I would give that a 10. That's my favorite game of all time.
I don't have a favorite game of all time.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know if
hard
it's
to-
necessarily, Last of Us is definitely up there, probably like a top 3.
One that a lot of people have problems with is Mafia 2. Love that game. We're hoping for a Mafia 3. But yeah, I guess I think that's it. I think we covered all the bases. If we do need, we can always do like a return to Last of Us or anything like that. If
Yeah.
there's like some HD remake or something, I don't know. But yeah, that was our first
ever video. That feels good.
video. We've done 4 podcasts now, audio only.
They should all be up by now. Go ahead
Yeah.
and check them out. Audio with a picture.
Mm-hmm.
You can just
And
watch them.
eventually,
Have them on iTunes pretty soon, hopefully.
hopefully, if we can get, if anyone out there does like, is go with Photoshop and stuff that we're not and logos, we do need a logo for the show. We'd be willing to pay. Okay, don't get outrageous, but we'd be willing to pay.
Yeah, I was about to
And
say.
for like a logo, maybe if you can do a theme song, if you're good with like GarageBand or something, you know, because we need something to, because I don't want to put it up on iTunes with some weird like blank slate or whatever. And hopefully, eventually, we'll get the podcast to video as well. So
Yeah,
that we'll
we
have
will
the
pretty
audio
soon.
version on iTunes, and then you can watch the version on YouTube here.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah,
We'll see.
it might not be in this set. It might be.
Yeah, this is where we're kind of working with right now, the kitchen
Yeah.
set.
And I know it's blank back here. We're working on getting posters.
Captain America and James Dean.
Yeah, we
although
got a
you
whole
can't see
one
them,
over
they're
there,
all
we
framed,
gotta-
but we got plenty of posters in,
Yeah.
in Wake.
We still got some setup to do. We got some stuff to buy. But yeah, thank you for tuning in to our first episode. Be sure to listen to our podcast, Game Chat with Ben and Matt, which is, we don't have a set date for it yet. So far, we're trying to get it every Friday.
Friday, yeah. Well, it'll record on Friday, up on Saturday.
Yeah,
So.
record on Friday, up on Saturday. So, and we'll be tweeting on Friday and stuff to
Follow me on Twitter,
Yeah.
at MatrixShoot49.
I'm at Captain Ben G, and the show is at Game Chat Ben Matt. And feel free to tweet questions. We'll say when we're recording, or tweet questions, whatever, because we'll save them.
Just tweet at us, period.
It's not,
like
yeah,
you know you're out
please,
there.
please do. Because it's not like we're getting like flooded right now. But yeah, that was the first episode.
That was good.
Alright. Thanks for watching.